that's the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. What do you mean it's not a sufficient analysis? Epithet Erased is an animated web series created by Brendan Blaber, a voice actor and animator best known for his YouTube channel, Jello Apocalypse. His video, So This Is Basically Ruby, is a personal favorite of mine.
Why is my name spelled with a Q?
The show is based on his tabletop role-play series Anime Campaign, which Blaber took down in order to limit spoilers for future plot points. The first season is 7 episodes long, and the story follows 8 distinct characters: Molly Blinddeaf, Giovanni Potage, Percival King, Mara Salaman, Indus Tarbella, Dr. Sylvester Ashling, Ramsey Murdoch, and Zora Salazar. Each of these characters are inscribed, which means they can wield something called an epithet, a word that grants its user a specific set of powers. For example, Molly's epithet is dumb, so her abilities are creative extensions of the word's definition. She can mute the world around her, lower an opponent's intelligence, or reduce the amount of damage someone takes after an attack. This last ability is what draws Mara's attention. Her epithet, Fragile, makes her extremely powerful, but it also means that she's in constant pain. She plans on stealing the Arsane Amulet, an ancient artifact that can be used to take away another person's epithet, hence why the show is titled Epithet Erased. Most of the characters spend their time chasing after this MacGuffin. Giovanni wants to prove himself as a worthy villain, Sylvie wants to study it from a scientific perspective, and Ramsey, well, actually, Ramsey doesn't really care about the amulet. He's just unwillingly roped into helping Percy's investigation of the theft. But the point still stands. The plot is fairly standard, and due to budget limitations, the animation is little more than a hyper-expressive puppet show. But these characters and their interactions with one another are what make this series remarkable.
Hello, this is the cops.
Hi, I'd like to go to jail.
Part of the reason I find independent web shows so charming is because I love seeing how their creators come up with clever solutions to their production restrictions. Epithet Erased had a very small budget, but Blaber and his crew found creative ways to enhance the viewing experience. Character cards are placed between the ad breaks to deliver supplemental information about their power sets and personalities, and the voice actors read out their stage directions to compensate for the lack of fully animated scenes.
Where did he go?
Teleport's behind you.
Artists who think outside of the box are more than deserving of praise. But we should also commend creators who are forced to think inside of the box, because the ideas they come up with within these confines can be extremely impressive. This is why I think Epithet Erased is infinitely more engaging than a multi-million-dollar blockbuster. In an ideal world, money wouldn't be a major limiting factor on a passion project, but restrictions are occasionally a blessing in disguise. Artists should be able to tell their stories on their own terms, but there are a few creators who've become egotistical auteurs because they've had too much freedom. Such is the nature of financial success, I suppose. There are 2 clear narrative arcs in Season 1, the Museum arc and the Western arc. Both are important, but personally, I'm partial to the first 4 episodes because I find their story more compelling. As someone who deals with chronic back pain, I found Mira's motivation deeply sympathetic. Physical pain affects more than just your body. It impacts your mental state, your finances, and your overall quality of life. So I understand the desire to get rid of this never-ending source of misery. But I would never attack a child or try to steal their epithet because of it. Mira is objectively and morally in the wrong, but you still feel for her. And I hope we get to see more of her in Indus in future installments.
If I wanted something big and brainless to help me move boxes, I would have hired a forklift.
Don't be silly, Lady Mira. Forklifts have no honor.
I love westerns as much as the next girl who stumbled across Firefly as a teenager and never fully recovered, but the second arc isn't nearly as engaging as the first. Zora is more of a neutral evil antagonist, which isn't necessarily bad, but I find Mira's chaotic evil energy to be way more fun.
Honor my probably broken foot!
The Western arc is also burdened with the task of world building, and the Arsane Amulet is at its most MacGuffin here. With all that being said, Countdown is the greatest song ever written.
Time's in my control.
Unfortunately, Blaber wasn't able to raise enough funds for an animated second season, but that didn't stop him from continuing the story. On December 9th, 2022, Epithet Erased Prison of Plastic was released in both ebook and audiobook format, and it's spectacular. My attention span these days is shorter than a mayfly's life cycle, but the audiobook held my full attention for all 10 hours. The Arsane Amulet is barely even mentioned. Instead, Prison of Plastic focuses on my 2 favorite aspects of storytelling: character development and theme. Molly and Giovanni are back, along with several delightful new additions to the cast: Phoenica Felicity, Trixie Roughhouse, Naven Nunnock, Rick Shades, and Molly's bratty older sister, Lorelei. Lori's epithet is the exact opposite of Molly's. Augment allows her to create fictional worlds and enhance reality. It's an escapist's dream come true. The 2 sisters have been estranged ever since their mother passed away. Molly had to grow up too fast. Lori retreated into her childish fantasies, and their father became disinterested and neglectful. These girls don't know how to properly articulate their needs to one another, and each misunderstanding only widens the divide. The goal of language is ease of communication, but words have their limits. You can't talk your way through a brick wall, and reaching out to someone is only effective if they choose to take your hand. Lighting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm is a recipe for disaster. Both of them are sufficiently traumatized, but they both have very different responses to the various pressures of reality. Lorelai hides from the world because deep down, she blames herself for their mother's death. This extroverted girl essentially caved in on herself. She uses magic to solve all of her problems, and she settles for the sweeter but substanceless parts of life. Why should Lori bother with maintaining actual connections when she can just conjure up a fake person who perfectly follows her script? Molly is an introverted 12-year-old burdened with the responsibilities of an adult. She has real friends, but they can't help her escape her current living situation because it would mean breaking the law. There's no time for her to play because she has to focus on basic survival. Molly has no idea what she's doing, but in my favorite scene from the book, she realizes that no one knows what they're doing. Teachers repeatedly tell her that she won't get away with stuff in the real world, but the real world is utterly indifferent. Her father was getting away with it in the real world. Was everyone? Competence was optional. Every job was made up. Every social convention, every system, every political office, every instruction you were ever told to follow. It was all just made up. Painted cardboard held together with crossed fingers and string. A world of adult children trying a best that wasn't good enough. The only thing that could save her now was a wrecking ball. I guess the real prison of plastic was the society we made along the way. Why are you booing me? I'm right! The book doesn't end with the two sisters reconciling. Quite the opposite, really. During their last one-on-one interaction, Molly tells Lori she hates her, and a few chapters later, you realize that Lori also hates herself. Life would ultimately be easier if her epithet was just erased. The sisters need time away from each other in order to kickstart the healing process, and it looks like they'll get that distance in the story's next installment. Giovanni is the wrecking ball that Molly's been wishing for. This scrappy, inscribed teenager is a better father figure to Molly than her actual father, Martin Blinddeaf. He takes her under his wing in season 1 and teaches her the importance of standing up for herself. And when Giovanni decides to form his own criminal organization, he makes sure to recruit the kid he's lovingly nicknamed Bear Trap. After having exactly one conversation with Martin, Giovanni decides to steal the most valuable thing from Mr. Blinddeaf's toy store, Molly herself. Losing his wife jaded Martin. He doesn't want to waste time caring for inherently ephemeral things. But if you fail to care for something, then you're essentially guaranteeing that it won't last. This is what makes Giovanni such a great character. He genuinely cares about stuff.
Wait for me, my boys. I shall return for you.
He cherishes and appreciates his minions, and his status as a villain makes him the perfect person to save Molly. Laws are meaningless when compared to a little girl's happiness. The world around us is poorly constructed and artificial at its core. Everyone is faking it until they make it, but the true delight of existence is connecting with other people. It's not easy, but it's worth the effort because few things are realer than love, be it platonic, romantic, or familial. Apathy is a survival instinct, but authentic enthusiasm is what makes life worth living, so we have to nurture these fleeting sensations. Nothing ever lasts forever, and loss and pain are unavoidable. But to quote one of my least favorite human beings, a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts.